typed in the wrong stream code. I know you're just getting ready, Emma. Damn, I've got to watch an ad on my own stream. This is outrageous.
Bro,
advertise Audible to me.
During FaZe Surge Game 5 round 10, I got a fucking ad.
Really?
I was like, yo, what the fuck? And it was like 2 unskippable ads, and I was like, yo, what the fuck? And I think Surge were like in the round 10, they got first blood, and then I was like, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Surge gonna win. And then you come back and I was like,
what the fuck happened?
What's good, everyone? Welcome to the stream, YouTube and Twitch. We're back again, baby. It's the post-champs. The off-season has officially begun, and what better way to do it than with the boys, who there might be some really juicy off-season content we've got planned when some of the roster stuff maybe starts to become a little bit more clear. Lion today is he's at some sort of meeting, so I'm hoping things go well. He's been kind of on the grind lately, doing some radio stuff. So I mean, Lion's he's an all-purpose character. He does it all. So he's out of here today. Austin was on a flight back, and I don't think he can quite get back in time. And he's probably still recovering the hydration from all the crying after coming second again. So hopefully Austin's doing okay.
Right. That's not right.
But yeah, okay. You know what? You guys win. You guys win last year. It wasn't to be, but there's always next year. So yeah,
I mean they had a good season, bro. They still had a good season. Let's be honest.
It's actually kind of crazy how good a season they had given the situation. But it's like, I mean, we can talk about it, right? But I mean, as time we'll obviously discuss it, the FaZe situation. But it's kind of crazy to me. Like, I don't know. I thought after last year, everyone was talking about the dynasty, and I still kind of consider that we're in the FaZe era to a degree, because it kind of feels like for the last 2 years, FaZe like beating them is an impressive accomplishment. Still, even though they didn't win, so I kind of feel like it's still kind of the FaZe era, but they didn't really cement their legacy. But they've still got future seasons, so they can come back. But harder nowadays.
Yeah, no, they're a dynasty to me, bro. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I do get that for sure.
Dominated for 3 years. Like obviously this year wasn't domination, but and then Simp was core the dynasty with one BO4 as well.
Oh, I've got a good Illy meme to reply to the. See, this is why Illy comes in clutch, man. He has some world-class memes. Like, I mean, look at this picture I'm about to put in the reply.
I don't even have a meme. A COD meme, bro.
I mean, it's not even a meme. It's just a picture of Illy looking funny, because you can't get a picture of Illy where he doesn't look like kind of goofy, or like every Illy picture has meme potential, and that's on Steve. Okay, I think we can get cracking. I've retweeted the tweet. That's all it takes. I've got the podcast topics up here. I mean, I think you guys can guess what we're going to talk about. Yeah, rip Vanguard, baby. Vanguard is done. It's actually so done that Crone doesn't even have it on his screen in the background anymore.
No, I got the greatest game, greatest Call of Duty. Yeah. I don't know if you guys can see it on the stream, but it's BO3.
Yeah, BO3 is on the stream. So you just absolutely love to see it. I don't know what people are going to play in the off-season, actually. Like, what have been people...
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Because I'm trying to figure out which is going to be like the closest game to MW2. Like, will it be? I'm assuming it's Modern Warfare.
No one wants to play Modern Warfare like 2019 again. You know what I mean? No one wants to play that in the
should I play Cold War? I don't know.
Yeah, I think people might do a bit of Cold War, but Cold War will get stale fast, because like that was a stale game at the best of times anyway. I could maybe go back to that for a week or two, and then I've had enough. So, maybe we're good. Oh man, the Ghosts off season was so much fun. That was post Infinite Warfare, right? I mean, obviously, Omar, we know all about that. But yeah, post Infinite Warfare going into World War II, everyone went back to Ghosts. Wow, that was actually probably the best. That was the most fun, like, off season game to go back to. Like the GB ladder was popping, everyone was on Ghosts. You could get matches so easily. For like a 4-year-old game at the time, which is pretty old at the time. So just beautiful stuff. RC's on Cold War, interesting. Dashy's on Valorant, that's for sure. We already know about that one. I'm sure Aches has some words to say for him. Aches probably has a joke in there somewhere about how, he didn't really mind going out of champs early because he got one more day to grind Valorant in the off season or something. But we can crack on. What do you reckon, Omar? Sponsored by Lipton Iced Tea? Not really, just kidding. But I haven't had one of these in a while. Peach iced tea. If you know, you know. All right, let's get cracking. Episode number 77. Damn.
77. Jesus.
We are out of control. Okay, beautiful. Episode 77. I'll do the 3, 2, 1. Are we good? I think we're good. Awesome. 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, tacticalrab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome to episode 77 of the Breaking Point podcast. Champs is over. Vanguard is done and dusted, baby. Rest in peace, Bozo. And yeah, that's it. Los Angeles Thieves, back-to-back champions. Can you believe it on a game like Vanguard after the year that we've had? But they hit new levels. They seemingly unlocked something in their gameplay that no one else could achieve the entire season. Phase second again. Loads of storylines though, all across the board. Not just the drama, but what these teams might do next season. Which teams are going to stick? Which teams are going to break apart? What can some of the teams on the cusp do to really take them to the next level? And I'm sure we're going to find all the answers in the coming weeks as well. Perfect man to join me. It's Crone. Good morning. Lion Man would be joining us today, but he's got some sort of meeting. And Austin will hear his thoughts on FaZe's horrific defeat next week because he's on the flight back and the timing didn't quite work out. But we'll get that perspective in due course. But we can feel free to roast or praise FaZe today without Austin's, without hurting his feelings too hard. Crone, what's good?
Good, bro. I had fun this season. I mean, the game was obviously, we already know about the game, but overall, I think it was a good season, man. Like, it was entertaining as fuck, in my opinion. Every major event was crazy, in my opinion. The game was obviously so-so, it was whatever. But yeah, I had fun this year. I did. I had fun covering the matches and memeing and tweeting and all those types of things.
Yeah, I guess that's the first thing we can talk about, really, because I didn't have it on my list, but it's a good one. Like, how do we rate the season overall? Because I think generally it was pretty damn good. Like, the game was terrible. I hated watching it, but I kind of grew to... I at least liked watching Tuscan Hardpoint. That was always a banger.
Tuscan is easily the best map. I feel like it's like the gun runner of Vanguard. Like, it's good,
yeah,
good
absolutely.
Map.
Yeah. Literally the only good map in the game. Like, often I wouldn't really... I would kind of watch on and off the other ones, but if it was a Tuscan Hardpoint, I'd usually watch it because the rotations made sense. Like, okay, the spawn's a bit busted, but it is what it is.
That's probably the only map... sorry to butt in again. That's probably the only map that I would want to be like remastered in like 4 years' time. Maybe VIllian. Like, I wasn't huge on VIllian, but I think I just didn't like it because I sucked it on rank play. But Tuscan's probably the only one that I would want remastered.
Yeah, Berlin was okay. Like, Tuscan reminded me of... It's not quite London Docks, but it's not actually particularly dissimilar from London Docks in a certain way. Yeah. Like, it has that kind of side of the map, which is... Like, it's got some features that London Docks... Like, it's got some symmetry, right? Which is like... sometimes you can't even get that anymore, which is obviously kind of disappointing. So it was the most, like, Treyarch style map, I would say, which is why it was rather good. So we'll see what Infinity will deliver this year. But yeah, I mean, the game itself was not the best, obviously, but it did... It did create for a great year. I mean, last year was frankly way more boring than this year. The only interesting thing about last year was the whole Hook and Crim 6 saga and then the LA Thieves, like all the drama that went on there. Like, that was probably the key storyline from last year. Whereas this year we had all the New York stuff again. And then we had the Illy saga with the injury. But then the actual events were just way better, right? Like, this year we had everything on LAN, apart from the matches.
Yeah, that's probably a big reason, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, and also like the crowds, the crowd wasn't great the crowd wasn't great on Sunday, but like the crowd over the course of the weekend was fantastic. Like, this is some of the best
Yeah.
North American crowds I think we've ever seen. Like, even Minnesota event was great. The Toronto event was fantastic. Obviously, the OpTic Major doesn't, even need to be mentioned. But obviously, most recently at Champs, and the New York event was the major of the season. Like, the crowds were going off. Like, crowd was, I don't know. The hype was seriously back this season, even for a bad game, which just gives me a lot of optimism. And the viewership numbers of Champs were great, all things considered. I know they're doing beta code drops, but like, that's going to inflate it. But like, still, the numbers are good. Like, almost 300k for that grand finals. We take that.
Oh, definitely. I wasn't like, I was hesitant to post those numbers because I was like, I don't remember seeing 275,000. Like, I didn't see that.
I wasn't the most really looking, to be fair. I mean,
I was trying to look now and then.
Tim the Tapman.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Including the CDL, the COD League.
Because I was real hesitant to post it, but I was like, fuck it, I'll post it anyway. I was trying to wait for Daniel or for someone to put out the official numbers from their side, because I know they're always a little bit different because they have like the actual official numbers. But yeah, 275 is a huge number, to be fair. On YouTube too, you put that on Twitch, it's probably over 300k. Easy.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I remember like the top number on there is the World War II champs, but World War II champs did not like. That number is 100% fake news, because what they did was they took MLG.TV's number and they added it to Twitch's number, but MLG.TV's number included Twitch's number back in the day. So MLG.TV had like 180k, and then Twitch had like 170k, but there was actually only 10 people on MLG.TV, or 10k people. Their number was like 350k for World War II champs finals, but the real number was like 170 or 180-ish. The real number is whatever MLG said. So that like top figure is actually not true. So we're actually closer to the all-time records than it appeared, at least according to what they say. But as I say, like, obviously the numbers can't really be trusted, right? So we'll see what the CDL say. But
man, those numbers are a little bit funky. It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell, because it's like, are you counting co-streams? Are you counting 10 man? Are you counting all this other stuff? Like, who knows? Who knows?
Season gets like a 7 from me. What do you give it? 7 too generous?
I was thinking that yesterday when I was driving. I was like, I'll probably give it like a 7. Like, the game itself, probably like a 3, maybe like a 2.5. No, probably a 3. I would say 3, but I would say 7 overall. Like, every major, we had different champs every time. There wasn't really like aside from faze, there wasn't really like dominant teams, and I mean, faze didn't even win, so. But it was super fun, bro. And I don't know. Every year I watch like shitty games being played, and I don't know how the pros manage to make it look like fun. Fun is like real fun. Like, after the matches, I'm always like, yo, I want to go play this. I want to go play Vanguard, and I want to go grind. I don't know how they do it every time. And the maps were absolute garbage. I mean, I still love playing it and watching it.
Yeah, no, Vanguard had that weird element about it, right? But. Yeah, I just hope that in like 2 years' time, or 3 years' time, we're not talking about, because I remember after World War II, people said, and even Infinite Warfare, it's been said every year, like, there's nothing we will miss about this game. The worst game ever. I hate World War II. I hate Infinite Warfare. Hate Modern Warfare 2019. But give it a couple of years, man, and people are like, well, damn, the M4 was kind of nice. Or Gunrunner was a pretty fun map. We're going to look back and be like, damn, man, that auto, that was a pretty fun gun. Tuscan the hardpoint, yo, they need to remaster it. So I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen as much as before.
I think it would happen.
It will happen to a degree. I guarantee it will happen to a degree.
Like, I just installed Modern Warfare 2019 to play it on the off season, and I was thinking in my head, like, I'm probably gonna play it and be like, yo, this game is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I hated that game more than anything.
Yeah, when I first see gameplay of Modern Warfare 2019, I'm like, damn, like, this looks kind of good, man. That every A1 is nice. But,
like, I always said though that like the gunplay in Modern Warfare was actually like pretty good. It was just like domination 5v5 was crazy hectic. Time to kill was shit. The maps were garbage, but like the gunplay was actually good.
Yeah, CCOD's back, baby. Let's talk champs. Let's dive into the teams that came top 8 and what they might do. Honestly, I've got to say, to those of you who saw last week's show and our predictions, our bracket wasn't quite right. We had Seattle beating FaZe in the winners semis, where they lost game 5, round 11. but our placings were almost identical. Apart from we had OpTic 6th and New York 4th, but we really weren't sure on that series. It could have gone either way, we thought. We had OpTic 6th, New York 4th. It turned out to be OpTic 4th and New York 6th, but every other placement in the bracket we got correct, I think. Half maybe, I think that's true. Maybe Toronto made this wrong.
We did a good job. Like, even though it wasn't 100%, like that's a good effort.
Thieves won. Like we actually killed the predictions.
Yeah. To be fair though, I saw the Breaking Point predictions, how they have the underdog. I think only once the underdog won. I don't know what match it was, but only once the underdog won, which is like pretty weird for Vanguard because usually the underdogs there's a few of them in a tournament.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. It was kind of strange that there was barely any upsets, but at the same time, that's kind of how it goes as it goes to the end of the year. I find that the teams that understand the game the best. Like, we'll talk about Thieves, but if you look at Thieves' stats, it's actually absurd how literally their stats are like a 1.05, a 1.07, a 1.09, and a 1.11 or something. They did the same thing this tourney as they did back at Major 4. Like, no one else got all of their players involved like Thieves did. Like, they had no superstar going off dropping a 1.4. Like, it was just impeccable. And they were the only team to be able to hit a level like that. Boston didn't do it. London didn't do it. They both come top 8. Boston, man, they could have beaten Thieves. They just bricked up Game 5, Round 11 and just sat there and did nothing. And they just ran bottom church and died. Like, they actually could have beaten Thieves. I think that, like...
There was a horrible play, bro. I was like, what?
Yeah, that was actually just tragic. Oh my God.
I was like, what are you doing? You just gave them all of the half the map. Like, the good half of the map.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea what they were playing at there. Like, it was pure, and like that set the tone, right? It's series wins like that for Thieves that are like, okay, we got over our first round hump, because often these first round matches are tough because in previous champs you used to have like a whole group play stage to warm up. Now you're going straight in to winners round 1 with, it must be said, the massive delay before that Boston Thieves series, and no one could even scrim and warm up. Like, there no
teams, I think OpTic couldn't even scrim.
The servers were off. So, like, that's why I kind of give that series a bit of an asterisk into why it went so deep in the series. So Boston got top 8. London, just classic London, man. I saw, honestly, could you not see this coming a mile away when London went up 2-0? And it was like, here it comes, baby. 100%. Like, Gizmo overchalled once, and I was like, yep, the series is done. They're losing this control and lose the next 2 maps. Exactly what happened. So yeah, I mean, look, I've roasted OpTic's composure at times, but London, man, they are the prime no composure team. So, okay, what do we do with these two teams? We've got Boston, who have good SMGs. I think Vivid and Nero on their day can be like a top 3, top 4 SMG duo in the game. So I think you've got to keep them, really. I don't think they can reasonably upgrade. I don't think there's any free agents that Boston would be their number 1 choice. Like Afro, Hydra, these guys, I don't think they're going to want to go to Boston. So then it leaves you with upgrading the other positions. And I feel like if you actually want to make a contender, you've got to upgrade both of the other positions, would be my perspective.
Yeah. Methods is hard because he brings more than... Obviously you want to win, but he brings like a personality too. So teams are kind of like, you know, they'll give him a little leeway when it comes to performance. And I mean, he's been good, but I think his stats a little bit don't tell the whole story, and I think everyone knows that. I think TJ can definitely be upgraded. And like you said, Nero and Vivid, it's like, it depends on the other free agents. If you can upgrade there. Like, I could honestly see them letting go of anyone on this team, to be honest. I don't think any of these 4 are safe. I don't think they will drop all 4. I think they'll keep 1 or 2. But I think you could definitely replace everyone on the team.
That would be pretty interesting. Like, it's an interesting question, really, because like, if I'm Boston, my plan going into this year was finish the year in a similar way to what Toronto did back in Modern Warfare, and at least have an idea of like who the players are you want to keep around. And I kind of agree that there are some players out there. It just depends what the general manager and like Dens and Zed want to do with it. But yeah,
I think they're good.
Like, they're good methods.
They have a good staff there. I mean, they built a good team from nothing, bro. Like, they built this team on like December or something, and they ended up making champs that were better than the other 4 teams that had 3 extra months or 2 extra months or whatever. Like, they did good, bro. So I have faith in Dens and Zed and whoever else is in charge there. They pulled Cap Seidel out of nowhere, and he was like a decent, like, good player, like a CDL talent.
They're on their bench, technically. I mean, if they want to re-sign him, they
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I have faith that they'll make good decisions, and, better than some other teams.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, like London then, right? So London, I definitely think they want to go down the like UK team route again. I don't
Yeah,
think that they will go for another player. Like I would really kind of like to see what, because I rate Zero. I like Zero as a player. I think he's a fantastic player, but I don't know if he's quite got that leadership, composure, experience, like
yeah,
recent winning ability and mentality as some other main ARs have, especially when it comes to molding younger players who are practically all rookies. Like
yeah,
I know we talked in previous years about the fact that Clayster to London was discussed. I just do wonder what Clay might have achieved with the London team this year. Like Zero was a like on pure ability, I think Zero can be equally as good as Clay on both their best days. But I think that Clay might have achieved more with those guys this season than they ended up achieving.
yeah. Probably,
Now,
I agree.
of course, the question is like Afro, right? Because I think maybe they all might be free agents, or at least Afro and maybe another couple of them are free agents. But I don't know if anyone's going to get much better of an offer other than Afro. And I think
Yeah,
players rate him highly, and he will have opportunities, I would think, if he wants to leave, as he can. So that's my question. Like, how much ambition does he have? Do they say, look, Afro, we'll pay you the bag, stay around, we'll build the team you want here? But I'm just not convinced in London as a franchise to actually build a team that can win, let alone win consistently.
yeah,
So that's my thing for Afro. There are other players out there, the likes of Wardy, obviously is a big name SMG player from the Challenger side,
yeah.
and also
Beans as
Beans,
well.
people talked
Beans,
about a
yeah, really
lot.
good.
So those are the two names, because like London did a great job, you got to say, with Afro, with Nasty, with Gizmo, with these guys that have proven to be solid players and at least online can be pretty dominant players, like especially as we saw at the start of the year. So I think that they have a good idea of what their talent pipeline is, but I really have no idea what they'll actually decide to do with their team. I think those guys have got to be on the radar, but it all comes down to what Afro decides, I think.
Yeah, I think probably the Toronto guys might it might depend on what Toronto do too. I feel like if Toronto League goes someone on there, London might look at them. I think they probably 100% would look at them.
Mm.
I think all four of those players are still decent. They had a FU season aside from Kleenex. But yeah, London. I would say if I was London, I would 100% obviously keep Afro. Maybe Nasty. I don't know. He was kind of off and on, but he's had other seasons and challenges where he was incredible. And then after that, like we said, you look at EU challenges. I mean, there's even players like Vikel. I know he's not. I know he's from Spain, I think. But I
Yeah.
mean, they can look at him. And then Beans and Wardy. I don't know who. I don't really follow EU challenges much. There's probably a few other guys out there that are pretty solid. And then maybe get the leftovers from Toronto Ultra, like if they decide to change, which I think they will 100%.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk Toronto then, because this organization has more ambition than to achieve what they achieved this year. I think some might say, oh, going into a different game, we know what this team achieved before. But I think if there's one game that's going to be more similar to next year's title out of Vanguard and Cold War, it's probably Vanguard. Like, I don't think we're getting a Cold War game again for another couple of years. If they want that, like, very teamwork heavy, higher time to kill style that seemed to favor them. And the team just wasn't really it this year. Like they did do okay and were a threat, but it's kind of, and I don't blame them sticking together after last year, of course, but I do feel like maybe they should have considered something a little bit earlier on. The question for Toronto is though, like they're just not good enough consistently, especially in the respawns. And
Yeah.
Scrappy is there on the bench, and he is an option. Now, I wonder if like how good a move that is bringing him in, just because of the potential chemistry implications. Like we know what this guy Scrappy is like. He doesn't mess around. He thinks he's the man, which is fair enough because he's been killing it. But I think that there's got to be someone in that team, and maybe the coaches could do it, that can kind of handle the egos that will come into play on that team. I think right now the team before seems to get on very well, and as like all European players, they've had some of the best chemistry in and out of the game for the last couple of years. You bring Scrappy in, I'm not necessarily sure that's the case anymore. So that's something to at least consider if you're making this move, as to like if you're going to make it an international. It is already technically international because Kleenex, but you know what I mean. Might be a question mark. So maybe you decide to sell him off. But look, if Afro, Hydra are free agents, and they are, you've got to think about what you might do to your SMG line. But then again, even then, I don't know what I do, because I like Bance. I rate him as a player. I think he has an awful lot of impact for this team. And him and Kleenex can be a great duo, but Kleenex isn't quite as consistent enough. But he's still one of the most talented players in his day. So I think Toronto is the hardest team as a GM to figure out what the hell you do. Because even if you want to bring Scrappy in, it's like, well, who do you replace him for? He's probably a more flexish player like a Cammy. But do you want to drop Cammy and let him be a free agent going back into Modern Warfare when he was so good 2 years ago? It's like, I have no idea what you do if you're Toronto.
Man, it's tough. I feel like Kleenex, for me, Kleenex is probably the number one person I would keep on Toronto. But the other three, like you said, it's like Bence is good for everything that's not stats. Like he does all the dirty work. He's got the leadership and all those types of things. And then it's like the other two are like, they had a kind of, I mean, compared to Cold War, they had a terrible season. Let's be honest here. Well, not terrible. I shouldn't say terrible, but so it's like, which one? It's really hard if you're a GM or you're a coach at Toronto Ultra, because where can you upgrade these players? Like, which players can you upgrade? And I said before Major 4, I think it was, that if you're going into champs and you're not putting your best team forward that you have available, then why are you even going to champs? Like, why did they not put Scrappy in? I know their placements were like decent. They weren't horrible. They got like, it was like first, fourth, top 12, top 4, third, top 6, top 6. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like going into champs. It's like, I don't think you're not going to get first. Like, I don't think anyone ever thought they were going to get first. So why wouldn't you bring in Scrappy or Hixie, or I don't know how good Hixie actually is, but I just don't know why they didn't put their best team forward, and they should have, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think that might say something, right? Like, they might say something about what Marky B and the team there thinks would happen if they put Scrappy in. Like, they might just think it will throw off the team dynamics and the chemistry. Because, like, I mean, they did bring him in one match for Insight where he went off, dropped like a 1.26 KD against New York or something in that series they played against them.
Technically, he has the highest KD from this year. We only play one series, so we don't count it when we talk about KDs, but he has the highest KD in the CDR technically for this season.
That's a great point. I mean, exactly, right? So I just wonder if they think that bringing him in wouldn't benefit their team, but it's also like the Bance question to me is the interesting one, because at the end of the day, if you want to be, because Cold War was like the best year this team is reasonably going to have, right? I don't think any season from this set of 4 players is going to get better than Cold War. But even then, they just would always lose to FaZe, the dominant team.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you actually want to be the best team in the game consistently, then I don't know if Bance can stay, as sad as it is. I love Bance. Yeah. But I feel like you've got to try and make it work with like a dominant SMG pairing, like a Hydra or an Afro or whatever. Like, and you've got to just hope that the intangibles can come from elsewhere and try and build that. Like, I think that's the way to actually be a real contender here.
I think this entire season, they were just hoping for the chemistry to take over and take them to the next level like it did last year, but it just wasn't there. And they should have known that, because they were never really like getting anywhere. And the kickoff they came first, but it's like whatever. So I don't know. It's going to be tough for them, I think, to pick. And I think all of them re-signed last year, right? Like all of them are unrestricted.
I think even like they said they all. Yeah, I think they're probably all still contracted even this year. Like, I don't think anyone's technically a free agent, because I'm pretty sure someone said that they all re-signed. So I'm pretty sure
I think they too. I can't remember.
Yeah, like Grayson or something tweeted maybe, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that one's going to be interesting, because it's like, I feel like what they do also is going to affect what London do. So London might have to wait until what Toronto do to see what they get rid of, and if they can pick up pieces from there, if they want them or whatever.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I wonder what. I mean, like, if Bance could go to London, I know that Zero and Bance, I forget exactly what their relationship is, whether it's any good or not, but I know they've got respect for each other at least. Like that, like Bance for Nasty would be kind of interesting. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Okay,
Well, if
the other
Afro
top
decides
six
to go to
team.
Toronto, like,
Yeah, if Afro
you
goes
know,
Toronto, that'd be what I'd like to see. I want to see Afro get on a team that can actually kind of compete, even though I think Afro can maybe even do better than that. We'll see, I
definitely,
suppose.
he's a beast, bro. That dude is a beast.
Yeah, no, genuinely. I mean, it's funny. I was trying to make this point after they got knocked out, and then he dropped like a 0.7, 0.66 or something in the series they lost. And I was like, I can't really make my point as emphatically as I want to that Afro should go to another team. But like, okay, he dropped a 0.7 that series. The series before, he probably dropped a 1.2. And just the eye
Yeah,
test of this guy, you know that he's got what it takes.
100%, 100%.
He's like, yeah, he's not quite a pred, but I feel like in the right system, he can genuinely be like that type of impact player. I mean, another player in that category is Hydra, right? A free agent, another top 6 placing for New York. Weird, really. Like, New York just weren't the same team since map 3 of the grand finals in Major 4.
Yeah,
And it was weird because, like, Paulex and Kismet, after doing so much for them the majority of the year, and especially at Major 4, just didn't really turn up this event. Like, Paulex, even at Major 4, wasn't that good. He wasn't good here either. And then Kismet, like, also didn't play great. And it was kind of a question mark to me because Kismet was like playing at such an unbelievably impactful level during Major 4 that I was like, surely this guy can't keep this up, especially because Kismet's a solid player, but he's not the type of player that I think you can build a consistently dominant team around. Like, he can be good for a little bit and be super impactful, but he's not like an absolute dominant force hoss on the map that's going to be there event in, event
yeah,
out, in my opinion. Like, I said the same thing about Havoc, right, earlier on, like basically saying he's mediocre, and which maybe is offensive, but like, I think it's true. And I think Kismet is not quite in the same boat, but is not too many scales above that, right? Like, he's a solid player, but it's like,
yeah,
if you're building a team that you want to win multiple events, like, Kismet's not the guy at the top of your list, but he's a good gap filler, and he obviously did a great job for this team. But like, if you're New York going into next year, do you get more ambitious than keeping Paulex and Kismet? Because they got reverse swept by FaZe. They reverse swept London, right? I mean, it's a crazy series. And then they got bodied by OpTic. Well, not necessarily bodied, but it wasn't particularly close, to be honest. And yeah, again, Hydra is the big question mark, because if you're New York, do you say, look, Hydra, we're going to give you the bag. What team do you want? Or does Hydra say, no, screw you guys, I'm leaving, and goes to another team? In which case you say, okay, Crim, we're going to keep you. What do you want to do? So
yeah.
I honestly don't really know what happens, but I kind of doubt that Hydra and Crim are both on this team next year. I think it'll be one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, Hydra can get the bag anyway. This is the thing with CDL, is like in the NBA, if you re-sign to the team that you're on, you can get more. But in the CDL, I don't think that applies. He could probably get the same bag at whatever team he wants to offer him. I don't know if there's a team out there that would offer him that big of a bag. Maybe Toronto and Hydra and Kleenex. Like, I don't know. I think if Hydra stays, it really depends on what the team is saying they're going to bring to him, like what players they're going to bring. And it's I don't know. It's gonna be tough because he can go anywhere. I think any team would take him aside from FaZe and OpTic and this scum with us, but
Yeah.
and Thieves obviously, yeah.
Yeah, these are making moves. But yeah, I mean, agreed. I don't know, like, what happens to Crim as well? Because if you're in Crim's boat, Crim had a bad year, definitely by his standards.
I think he had like
also
a top 10 worst KD, right? Like of active players.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he had like a 0.87 at champs or something. So not a good year for him, not a good chance for him. Yeah, for sure. I think that's right. So, I mean, yeah, it's also a thing with Crim as to what options he has. But I do also think that there are some main AR spots out there. Maybe a Boston, maybe I don't know what Toronto's situation is, but there are a few teams that Crim could potentially go to. But also, I think I heard Clayster say that the organization was happy with the team because they did the great major. Like, they obviously like having Crim on their brand because Crim just adds so much value to New York for stuff outside of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
that's like the same
so
with Mythos.
much.
Like,
yeah,
it brings a little bit more than
in a way.
Yeah,
And like New York seemed to value the content aspect a lot. So, and Hydra's obviously valuable, but like if I'm a GM, I want to keep Hydra over Crim. But if I'm New York management, I might think, well, maybe we can find another Hydra. Maybe there's guys out there from Europe, Wardy or something, that we can also make to be a similar player. And maybe they say, you know what, Crim, will stay and we'll build you a better team. So it's a question of motives, right? Because New York aren't a team that's intending to build a dynasty roster that's going to win every tournament. Like, they want to win some, but I don't think that they... Like, Thieves' goal is to win everything. Like, that's nadeshot's goal, is to be the best team and create a roster that can win everything. New York, I don't think, quite have that same motivation, even though Crim6 does. So I think there's a bit of a conflict there, to be honest.
I just checked, and Crim has the 6th worst KD from active players, and he's a main AR too, so...
That's pretty tough. Maybe next year.
I'm trying to check Paulix's INO. Paulix's online stats, he was 1.5.
1.5?
Yeah, let me check.
1.15?
1.05.
05, okay.
Let me check tournaments.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So 1.05 online, and then on LAN, I'm guessing like a 0.96.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly.
This is why we need lineman, bro.
Yeah, for
sure. He had a 0.89 on LAN, so
89?
He struggled on LAN. Yeah, 8-9. He struggled on LAN. It was a lot like Gizmo as well. But to be fair, Gizmo was pretty decent at champs. I think I don't actually
quite good at champs. That was his first decent LAN performance. Gizmo was at champs. But that's interesting, isn't it? Because all this talk about London should have kept Portux over Gizmo, but I mean, in reality, similar players, I think. So again, Portux is another Kismet type player. He's good, but he's not like. Good.
He's not your he's not
B-tier, he's a B-tier player, and that's absolutely fine. But
I think when you see Gap Filler for Kismet, that was like the perfect thing. Like, he's not gonna. He had that one series where he was incredible, but he's not a player that you want to look at for like killing, like huge kills and those types of things. He's like a dirty work player like Bance and those types of guys.
Agreed. Let's talk the team that beat New York, OpTic Texas. They came top 4 here, which is, I didn't expect them to place any better than top 4. I thought it was top 4 or top 6, to be honest.
Yeah.
They got absolutely eviscerated by Thieves. And yes, the control was round 5, but damn, did they get clapped. I mean, their offensive rounds, they almost lost both of their defenses. They got absolutely world-starred on their offense. They got 60-point clubbed on Gavutu Hardpoint, which is one of OpTic's best maps. The search wasn't close. That was their worst loss of the whole season to one of their big rivals at champs. After all the they're overrated. Oh no, we're not. And it was.
I think it was the only sweep, right? It was the only sweep of the weekend. I'm pretty sure.
Damn. Apart from
maybe there might have been 2. There might have been 2. Oh yeah, there was
OpTic
2.
Swept OpTic.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then swept.
Yeah.
But apart from that,
I forgot about that one because of the delay.
You're right. Yeah, it's true. The delay, it doesn't even feel like a 3. That's a good point. 3 hour 3-0. I mean, the weird thing was though, they beat Thieves, and I don't know. I've made this point about the lack of composure that OpTic have, and I've been roasted a bit for it because they do like to clutch up some Game 5 round 11s. But where is their ice in anything that's not search and destroy? This was such classic OpTic right here in the control and in the hardpoint, right? The control, in fairness, the control looked like they were going to lose. I didn't think they could even win that offense. And all of a sudden, they've got a 2v1 advantage. And Scump is taking the fight against Pred, which is fine because he's feeling it. Pred backs down. And in fairness, Pred has so many options at his disposal there. He's in a 1 versus 2. There's 2.7 seconds off the clock. So Pred can go anywhere and spend a lot of time. He just needs to find 1 kill, really. So I think Pred was thinking, okay, let me just find 1 kill here, and then I can just take all the time in the world that I want, because Dashi, if Dashi was last alive, would have to just sit there for 40 seconds trying to capture this point on his own, and Pred can just do world stars around the map and try and get him. But just the way OpTic played that was just so vintage. I mean, the fact that they lined up for him, I mean, Scump was probably over peaking anyway. I don't know why you're peaking that.
I don't know why Dashi jumped from the stairs. Yeah, and I also don't know why he was still weak, which it felt like 10 seconds after he had
I guess he got hit by that nade, and then Pred dropped the dead nade. And
but I don't think it. I don't know if it went off though. Maybe he shot it. I don't know. But I don't know why Dashi goes to the point there. He didn't need to. just stay in that corner on the stairs or even top radio.
Yeah, I don't know. They just misplayed that 1v2. But it's
Yeah.
like, okay, if you want to make the point that their composure is absolutely fine, then okay, that's fine after that map, whatever, bad play. Then you go into a Berlin hardpoint where you are up 190 to 110, and you've got a streak, and then
Yeah.
Illy calls it in on P4. Why? Doesn't get a kill, and then you lose like 250 to 220. They got beaten 150 to 30 in the final like 4 hardpoints after
Yeah.
being up 190 to 110. Like, don't tell me that's not a full collapse, because that's a full collapse as far as
That's a
I'm
full
concerned.
collapse, 100%.
Like, and you know, it's just a classic OpTic, like absolute heartbreak. They can never lose in a normal way. They never just
Yeah, I
lose a
mean,
normal series.
They should have won both those maps, bro. Like it should have been a game 5. Like
100%, at least a game 5, it should have been that series. And in game 5, OpTic are good, so they could have 100% won that. And against FaZe, I still think they'd have lost, but like the run was there for OpTic. It was there to be claimed, and they lost.
100k people left the stream.
Quick.
Jesus.
I mean, yeah, 100k people left. I mean, it was just tough scenes for OpTic, man. I know they're going to stick it out if Scump wants to keep playing. I know that he tweeted about being, quote, so upset about the defeat, which I think to me is a good sign, because Scump's like, you know, he's obviously still got the passion, right? It's not like he lost the tournament and was like, and okay, you know, whatever, another champs. Like, he obviously wants to still win and be there, and he knows he can be that guy.
I mean, he had a decent season. Like, aside from Major 4 and probably even champs, like he had a good season, like a really good season.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
I
was
mean,
decent.
like Shotzzy just fell off so hard. It's actually crazy. Like Shotzzy went from MVP candidate to dropping a 0.86 at champs. Like, what is this? And he didn't have a great time at Major 4 either. Like, Scum was the better of the 2 SMGs for the last couple of events. Like, there's no doubt. But it's funny because it was only a few months ago we talked about Scum and Shotzzy being the best SMG duo in the game. And like, in fairness, that was kind of during the whole Illy early era. And it's like, that derailed their progress, don't get me wrong. But you know, I can't help but think that even without the Illy progress derailment, it's just such a classic OpTic story of them starting out well and falling off and failing to adapt. Like, do I think that OpTic could have ever played the caliber of COD that Thieves were playing at the last event? Like, I don't think that was the case, regardless of what happened this season. They might have got better results in the last few events, but I don't think that they would have had enough to maintain that level regardless. I don't know. It's just a weird thing with OpTic camp.
These were just different, bro. Like, I don't think anyone was like, FaZe couldn't even touch them, you know? Like,
yeah, it's true. Down 4-0 in the finals. Sheesh.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, I want to see what happens with OpTic in like a normal season, though. Like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here, just because, like, it's just interesting because Rambo has always been, I think, the no excuses guy, as is Illy and Shotzzy in that camp. But even like I've heard Rambo a few times on stream has been like, well, you know, look, we had this whole substitute situation. People aren't giving us enough credit for dealing with it, and effectively just kind of saying, well, look, if it wasn't for the Illy situation, would have been in a much better spot, which might be true, but I don't think that's the mindset you want to always have. But I'm going to give them benefit of doubt for a normal season and say, look, let's see what this roster can achieve in a normal season of COD, because it started out so well and then it went downhill for them, and I think they can run it back. The only other question that I'll raise, Crone, is that some people have mentioned about a potential role change on OpTic, because we've seen other players that have been SMGs, the likes of a TJ Halley, the likes of an Attach, for example, move into either a flex role or an AR role. And some have said that Scump could be very well suited, as I think he would be, to a flex position. He's always said that if he picks up an AR, he's fine with it. So that's been
so weird. It's so weird to me, like, to see Scump like be classed as a AR or flex player. That's just too weird for me. Like, I can't.
You can't wrap your head around it.
Nah, like, he's always been like a dominant. It's like probably the greatest SMG player we've seen. To see him, like, who knows what the meta is going to be next year? Like, it could be like a dominant, you know, a 3 SMG meta with like the flex using SMG more. But who knows?
I was just thinking. Some people have said. I mean, I don't think they should drop Illy, but I'm thinking if Scump was the SMG, or Scump was the flex, and then they brought in like another dominant SMG player, is that an option? I think that's at least something that I don't know if Scump's considering potentially moving to a flex as time progresses, but I think that OpTic, maybe in terms of who they bring in on their sub bench, have to think about that possibility. If it doesn't,
I just think he's been playing the SMG style for too long, bro. Like, I don't think you can just all right, I need to slow it down. I need to sit on this heat glitch and chill for a little bit. Don't push.
It's a bit of a faded take, I think, but you know, it's at
I
least
mean, I wouldn't say faded. I just can't wrap my head around Scump being an AR player or Flicks player. It's just
he does it well
I
on
don't know,
Kabuki though.
Yeah, he does. He does.
So I don't know. It's easier to slow down than I think that it is to speed up. But
Sure.
like the team that beat OpTic was Seattle Surge. And speaking of dominant SMGs, Pred was that guy, man. I'm sure the whole of the ANZ region is super happy to see it because everyone
100%.
from North America said that this guy, he's just beating up on farmers down there. He's not going to be able to cut it in the Pro League. Like, a lot of North American players have that attitude, right? Or at least, kind of when they comment on other regions. So it's great to see Pred just absolutely hossing it on the main stage. Like, he's been the dominant SMG force of the game in the last couple of months.
Best SMG of the season easily, for me, in my opinion. I think a lot of people will agree too.
To be honest, no doubt, because
and I would say the third MVP. Yeah, third best player. Yeah, me too. I think to talk about the MVP situation, because I know Kenny got for the regular season MVP. I think what happened was the way they voted it was they were looking at the standings, and Thieves were third in the standings and Surge were fifth. And I also think that they probably didn't want more than one from each team, so that's why Kenny got the nod. That's what I think anyway. I think that whoever voted was looking at the standings more. And because
I mean, look, they were third. Kenny was third.
Yeah, but it was exactly. It didn't matter anyway. Yeah, exactly.
But
I'm salty Apex person.
Yeah, I mean, look, got McKinney, yeah. We've got to take that.
He was a beast, bro. He was a beast.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what a great 20 from him. I hope he's equally as good next year. I don't doubt that he will be, at least right up there. So
he was a beast with that in Modern Warfare and Cold War. Like he should have been. He should have been a pro in Cold War, bro. Like he should have been.
He has such a great style. It's just like he's a lot of fun to watch. Okay, so then I've got a theory about what Seattle should do. Now, I know that Novus, he's part of Breaking Point. He's the GM over there. And I wonder what he's thinking, because this team had, all things considered, a great season, given like a massive bounce back season as an organization. Like they've come through here and managed to go from being like the laughing stock of the league to being a very competitive team, winning Major 3, top 3 at champs. But they have had a very up and down year, right? Like it has been inconsistent, not just the players, but the results. Like top 16 at the Pro-Am, they've had their fair share of like top 12s and stuff like that early on, despite coming second at the kickoff. So it's been very up and down. And it generally is that there are 2 players on that team. Like I think Pred and Sib's kind of inconsistency is overgassed. I actually think it's the other players that are more inconsistent. Like accuracy in the series they played against FaZe was like, he was for sure hard costing. Like he was dropping no kills in the respawns, and then we went game 5 and I was like, okay, surely this is time for the Iceman Lamar to come up clutch and carry his team through this game 5. He went like 6 and 8 or something and like just didn't do much. I think that
series he had like 58 kills and then Pred had like 90 something.
Yeah, he had like a point.
Like, what are you doing, bro? Like,
it's like, bro, game 5 round 11. Like, come on, we predicted him to win accuracy. Give me a bit more.
He did play decent on Saturday. Saturday, sorry.
Yeah, he did exactly. Good. He bounced back. Accuracy did well on like the victory against OpTic. He played well in, and then Mac, who can be like, I think Mac's better on LAN, but again, he's a bit of an inconsistent force as well. So it's like. Yeah. So this is the thing, if I'm the Seattle GM, I'm like, okay, what's my intention with this team? Is it to win the occasional championship, which this team is capable of doing, and we've seen it, or is it to be a team that can, every event, be like on level pegging order with FaZe? Because this team has the potential in that roster to be a FaZe, like, genuine candidate that every tourney you don't know who's going to be the best team. Is it going to be Seattle? Is it going to be OpTic? Is it going to be Thieves? Is it going to be FaZe? Like, they can be in that caliber. Right now, they're not. So this is the thing. They've got the number 1 and the number 2 rookies of the year. They have a lot of pulling power. Players will want to go to Seattle to play with these guys.
100%.
So honestly, instead of swapping out accuracy, the first player I would think about trying to upgrade is Mac. And this is my theory, or like this is what I would try and do as a GM. I would say to Hydra, hey, Hydra, look, we've got Pred, we've got Sib, we've got a great team over here. Come and join the Seattle Surge. And
Pred and Hydra
and Pred as your SMG duo.
I'm rock solid right now.
Bro, Accuracy doesn't
That's
need to do
insane.
that much if you've got Pred and Hydra, because those guys are consistent as well. Like, you're not going to get stinker series out of those two guys.
Yeah.
Like
I
you
mean, they're
can
both
with Mac.
roamers though. That's the thing. It's kind
That's
of like a
true, but I
weird.
think Pred can be the more aggressive guy. I would have Pred as the slightly more aggressive guy, Hydra as a little bit less aggressive.
Yeah.
I think they can make it work. It might not be perfect, but I think they're good enough to make it work. Keep Sib as the flex. And then the AR question, right? In that case, I don't mind keeping accuracy with what he's done for the team, but also like Slasher is out there potentially. He's gonna do more in terms of the slaying. I don't
Yeah.
know how that would work with Slasher and Sib and Hydra with the language stuff. You'd probably have to try and get Dareal as well from New York as a coach to come over, which might be an option. So, but like Seattle have so much potential that they should consider these moves, and they've got the resources to be like a team with actually like a stacked team of talent that might have its downsides, but also has way more upside than they currently have. So, that's just my theory of how Seattle could make some serious waves this offseason because they have a lot of like potential there that other teams and players will see, obviously.
Yeah, I think for me, accuracy's going first for me, if I'm being honest with you. I think Mac, you got to cut Mac a little bit of slack because he is doing like the dirty work type thing that we always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he could have played better 100%, don't get me wrong. 100% he could have played better. But for me, actually is, they got him for his leadership and for those types of things, but I just feel like you can get all of that from someone else plus get an extra 20 kills a series. Like, I feel like you could just upgrade. There's so many people out there that I think, in my opinion, are better than accuracy. And I don't think for me his leadership and those types of things is good enough to drop 58 kills in a series when your teammates are dropping 40, 30 more. Like for me he's first gone, and then Max kind of like I think he's 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
I think those three have good chemistry, but I do agree that Mac could definitely play better, and he was inconsistent, and he did play pretty bad at. I don't know if he played bad overall at champs. No, I think he did. I think I saw the stats and they were like pretty bad. I won't check because it'll take too long. But
yeah, all good. I mean, yeah,
I think
it's
they were lower
interesting
than
with
accuracy.
accuracy. Like, I would like if you're Seattle, if I'm Seattle, I'm like, okay, do I offer accuracy the head coach position now, or like do I give it one more year? Because it's also like, does accuracy want to keep playing? Because if he does want to keep playing and he can actually join another team, then he might it might be a loss to the franchise not to have accuracy around, because he's obviously done a lot with those players and like they obviously respect him. So you want to have him as part of the organization, but if he still wants to compete, then it's a little bit sketchy. But yeah, Seattle are one of the teams to keep an eye on. Of course, today we're only going to talk about teams that are at champs. Like there, of course, are other teams like LAG, for example, with a lot of, as a franchise, they have a lot of power because they're in LA and also they've got money to make moves as well. But Seattle are probably they're the team that I'm looking at to like, they're taking a big step up this year. They can take another big step up next year, I think.
Yeah, I think I just checked the Mac had a 0.86 at champs. Actually had a 0.90. So
What are the other
obviously
stats for the
Mac.
team? Just out of interest.
Pred was a 1.13 and Sib was a 1.09. I mean, they always did that. Like it was always those two.
I mean, come on, lads.
Yeah, and I always said that Mac was the piece that he had to pick it up. If he's not playing well, I don't think they win. Because I mean, Lamar can drop a 0.90 or whatever. Like as long as the other three are slaying, that was their plan. Like if you get 3 slayers that can slay out, and then actually is just sitting back, pre-aiming, and then leading the troops, and that was their plan. But if the third person isn't doing their slaying what did they want, then it doesn't work. And that's why they were so inconsistent.
Yeah, Tyler Gray's mentioning bringing in Temp for Mac, which like, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, Temp and Pred have great chem. They are good mates, but like, I don't trust Temp on a sub. Like, I'm not going to risk that. If I want to have a dominant sub duo, I'm going to upgrade Mac to someone who actually like is a better player. Maybe an Afro, maybe a Hydra. Those are the 2 big names that are always on my mind because those are like the 2 big name free agent SMGs.
I think if they're replacing Mac, though, they do need like a player that's willing to do the dirty work, because you want Pred roaming and killing and just...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's an interesting question for them.
Yeah, so I don't know what like good dirty work players are out there that are better than Mac. But who knows, man?
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you kind of need the dirty work, but you also just need the slaying, you know? I mean, we'll talk about Thieves in a second here, but if your SMGs can both drop 1.05s, like, it doesn't really matter if they're doing the dirty work or not at times.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's why Atlanta FaZe have been so dominant for 4 years. They've just been slaying everyone.
Exactly. I mean, let's talk FaZe because they get another second place. They beat New York, they beat Seattle twice, and they lose to Thieves twice, which is quite the run, really. But another second place, that's now seconds. This is just majors, but this is second, third, second, which is just such an absurd
That's heartbreak, bro.
That is honestly tough. I feel bad for the boys at Austin. Like, not getting one, oh, that's tough. I mean, there were many chances. Like, even this grand finals, like, they could well have won. I was watching them go down 4-0, and then they win 1, and then they win 2, especially the Berlin control. I thought there was GG and Thieves were going to win it there, but they win that, and then they're up 5-3 in the search. Like, 4-3 is game on. Yeah. And it's seriously game on. And it would have been getting in Thieves' heads for sure.
Yeah, I actually thought their FaZe. I picked Thieves for my pick'ems just because I knew Zoom was going to pick FaZe and we were tied. But I actually thought their FaZe were going to win. I was like, nah, this is it. Like, they're going to switch it up a gear. And, you know, the MVP has won every single year since BO4, I think. I'm pretty sure that's right. So I was like, nah, it's written in the stars. It's FaZe's turn. They're going to win. But they didn't. They got smoked for the first 4 maps.
Yeah, well,
exactly. It was like a little comeback, and I was like, "Yes, come on, take us to map 9, please." Like,
that would have been such a banger, man. Yeah, I thought that. I mean, to be fair, all the maps were pretty entertaining. It wasn't like boring watching Thieves go up 4-0, but it was it was just incredible to see them play at that level. And I think you've got to give some credit to Shane as well, because I know that JCap has admitted himself and the team knows that, like, JCap isn't necessarily the guy to rally the troops after a difficult loss. Like, he's the more analytical guy. He knows how to play the game. He's going to criticize you when you do something wrong, but he's not the guy that's going to say, come on, boys, we're down, you know, whatever, brush those maps off. Let's get back in the fight. One more map. Let's do it for the crowd. Like, that's where Shane comes into his own. And I'm sure he was giving them some good pep talks behind the stage to get their head back in the right place after losing 2 maps on the bounce. So I think that duo has killed it. I mean, look, Kenny MVP again. This guy, he's gone back to the sub. Immediately, the team looks way more comfortable. Like, the entire team switched up big time when Kenny came in and Shane went to the assistant coach role. I mean, man, it's just a shame. Like, you wonder what would have happened the last couple of years if Kenny had been on a sub the whole time, because it took him like a good 2-3 weeks to get comfortable with it again. But once he was, it's like, I mean, he's just making MVP plays again. It took them a couple of moves to unlock their potential, right? It's like nadeshot said afterwards, you know, to all the haters, you know, you've got no idea what you're talking about, which, you know, fair enough. But he can talk his trash, absolutely. But, you know, it's not like it's not like he came out of nowhere, right? They thought about their team. How can we improve? Okay, we're not going to do anything with players. We're going to make a role swap. And I think even going into the year, we mentioned this possibility maybe that Drazah can be either the SMG or the flex, and it turned out that the latter was the way to go. My favorite thing here, I think, was nadeshot winning, because, like, this guy, he's, from his history as a Call of Duty player, never being able to get the ring as a player, and then starting an organization and being able to build a culture and a team and a staff that can deliver a world championship for the team. Like, that's just such an awesome story for him individually, and it's just such a great one for Call of Duty in general. So yeah, super happy for Thieves. I'm also super happy that we didn't get another, like, crazy random result. Like, it showed that there's skill in this game. There's always skill in COD to a certain degree. Yeah,
before it started, I was like, man, please, like, you know, no offense to the fans, but I hope Boston or, like, London don't win this. Like, you know, I hope it's like someone that, you know, I hope it's not a one-hit wonder type thing. But nah, man, I'm happy for Thieves. There was a video of nadeshot in the crowd, and when they won, I don't know if you saw it, he was in the crowd, they won, and then he, like, you know, went for all the people and sprinted up to the stage, and it was like, man, you know, that feels good, bro. Like, nadeshot is a legend, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I guess COD XP, nadeshot's ring back in the day. I suppose that's true to a degree. I mean, yeah, like, Thieves' map pool was just so deep, and I just wonder, Cry, like, what do you think about this team next year? Because I think even we said going into champs that if they didn't win or anything, like, they should at least look at the market for players, that there might be some upgrades out there. Of course, as it turns out, they're not going to do anything. But, like, what can this team do? Because coming into this year, we thought that one of these Thieves teams was going to be terrible. But I couldn't. Well, at least I thought that one of these Thieves teams, or one of these Los Angeles teams, sorry, was going to flop. And I couldn't really work out which one. And they kind of both flopped, but also both did well. You know, like they both won an event, kind of, but also they both.
It's crazy because I don't know if you noticed this, but Gorillas actually won more than Boston and London, and Boston and London went to champs. They had more. They won more money throughout the season. Yeah, with that nice hilarious
200k juice or whatever they got from Major 2. Wow, feels a long time ago for them and Slasher, I'm sure. But like, what can Thieves do next year, right? Because we know that there's already a rivalry brewing between FaZe and Drazah, especially, but also FaZe and Thieves now. Like, is this just going to be a rivalry of two good teams? Like, is OpTic FaZe or OpTic Thieves still the big rivalry, or can this be a rivalry that lasts the test of time because they understood how to play the game? And I do wonder whether, again, next year they might take a few months to really figure it out and get the system in order. But I don't know. I can see this team going toe-to-toe with FaZe in the future because they understood this game better than anyone at Champs.
Yeah, I mean, the talent's there, bro. Like, I think they could. Whether or not they do or not is another question. I don't know, man. Like,
FaZe a bit different.
I think they came... I think they came good. It's hard to judge, though, because they were, like, so mid for, like, over half the season. Or half the season, sorry. I didn't actually realize that since the Pro-Am, they were like really good. You know, they came second, fourth, first. Like, that's incredible. I think it's I didn't realize that because of the online qualifiers, they were probably doing bad.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what they do next year about that, actually, if it is still online, because like they obviously suffered online, and Kenny wasn't holding back in saying that he was complaining about it all the time in scrims. Like JCap was telling him, mate, I'm going to give you 1 day to complain after Major 4 when we get back to LA, and then you're going to shut the hell up, and we're going to grind through the online pain of scrims and do what we can do. And maybe even playing in that kind of advantage or disadvantage help them. It's like taking the training wheels off or whatever. So I don't know. I hope they can keep competing, but I think that FaZe are still going to be the team that comes into the new game that you're going to look at as the scariest, especially because, Simp's average placing in his career at Champs is a 1.5 over 4 Worlds Championships, bro.
That's crazy.
He's 2-2 in finals, but he now holds the record of the equal record with some of his teammates for the most ever World Championship Grand Finals. I mean, he's been in 4 now, and even Crim, Clay, Karma, they were only in 3. They won them all. But I mean, that's just such a crazy stat. I do wonder though, I know that we kind of have different opinions on this because you put them in the Dynasty category. I'm not quite so convinced, but I must say that given the competition of the current era, during the CDL era, they're undoubtedly the dominant force and the best team that we've seen since the CDL's inception. But from my perspective, the fact that they lost 4 grand finals this year, they didn't win an event, they lost to 4 different teams. It's not good for their legacy. Now, this team might keep going for another few years and look really good, but it's last year they had such a dominant season and they, for me, failed to capitalize on it by cementing their era. I still kind of feel like we're in the FaZe era to a degree because still they're the team every event that you want to beat, and that if you're a fan of a team, every time your team plays FaZe, you're like, damn, bro, it's FaZe. This is going to be tough, pretty much regardless of the circumstances, which shows how good they are. But at the same time, if looking back at their history, you look at an OpTic Dynasty, you look at a Complexity Dynasty, although those teams are only about, Cole was only about for a couple of seasons, OpTic is about for 3 years, but they won multiple events every year, and if they didn't win, they were in the finals, they were always there, which is true for FaZe, but failing to win for an entire season is not something that any of the other Dynasty teams ever did, which just makes me wonder, right? Obviously, nowadays is different with the competition and stuff and less events, right, than there was back in Advanced Warfare when there were 14 events. But when in 5 years' time, people look back at the Dynasties, I think that this is a serious blip to the legacy of this team when it does eventually come to an end. But maybe they come back next year, win everything again, and nobody cares. But
I don't know, bro. If we're calling it the FaZe era, then they've got to be a Dynasty, bro.
That's a fair point, I guess. Well, I don't know. Era and Dynasty, I think, are slightly different. That's why I use the term era.
I mean, yeah. I don't
I
know.
didn't want
They're a
to say
dynasty to me, bro. And I do like. I think for me, it's because I count BO4 because the base of the dynasty is Simp and Easy, and RC as well, I guess. So I do kind of like half count BO4 as part of their dynasty, where Simp and Easy were dominating. But I don't know, bro. I feel like they're a dynasty to me. Like, I don't know what it would take. I guess they would have to win. If they win a major next year, does that make them a dynasty, or do they have to win champs?
It's a weird one. To me, winning champs here would have cemented it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
failing to
definitely
do
100%.
that makes it
Like,
a
I
little
can see
bit
the argument.
difficult.
Like, I'm not saying that they don't want 100% right. It's just my opinion. I think they're a dynasty. But I
Sure,
do
I mean,
think
you've got a good
if
opinion.
if they did win champs, they would have cemented it easily.
Yeah,
Easily.
we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah. We will. I'm sure they'll be fine, bro. They'll be top of the standings again. They'll be fine. ABZ had like an up and down. Yeah, I think he'll be great next year. He hated the game. He tweeted about it straight away that he hated the game.
True. That was true of the year.
Sim didn't really have a good champs, right? Like he had a decent,
This is
a really
actually
good
a
season.
great point. We've got to talk about Simp here because, like,
Yeah,
okay, his champs record is insane, but he had like I don't know if you want to find his KD real quick, but he in the grand finals he had a 0.86 or 0.80 or 0.82 or something like that. Like he had a 0.8 in finals, which is just so unheard of, right? Like think about Simp in the last few years.
yeah.
This guy's been a 1.15 minimum at champs, if not 1.2. And this year
He had a
had
1.90. Sorry, 0.90 overall at champs.
really? Is it okay? Wow. I mean, think about that.
Which is pretty low.
0.9 a champs for Simp, like
That's like with
kind of unheard of.
accuracy, pull X, vivid, like it's
Yeah, you
pretty
never
low,
see
bro.
that. And like, okay, you could talk about Celium like playing for kills or whatever. I'm sure that's a topic that will come up in the coming days because the fact that Cell had a 1.6 and they got smoked by Thieves made me think like something's not right
Bro,
with the way they're running their
there
team.
were a lot of there were a lot of times this weekend I was like watching Celium's POV and I was like, man, like
what's this guy doing?
playing his life. Like there was one point on Bockage where he was like in the back, like back 10, and he was just chilling, like hiding in a corner, and I was like, what, bro, like what are you like? He was on like a 3 streak. I was like, yeah, cool. But a lot of times I was just like, man, I don't know if playing your life there. Another good example was when they were going to P5 on Tuscan and he was playing for streaks, but they only had like 20 seconds to get in the hill and they ended up losing because Celium was sitting there playing for streaks and the streaks didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there was a lot of times where I was like questioning, like, bro, I don't know if you should be playing your life like that.
Yeah, you do have to wonder like whether that's a big reason why Simp and Abizi had a difficult year because like I feel like
I mean,
there was
other
a fair
players
few times where they were getting left out to dry.
Yeah,
But,
definitely 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because like you look at FaZe and you got Cell dropping a 1.4 every series, but it's not actually creating wins. Whereas Thieves, everyone drops a 1.05 and they smoke everyone. So you know, I think that was where like FaZe fell short this year, and maybe they'll be able to figure it out a little bit better next season. But I think the whole Cell Arcitys dynamic wasn't perfect this season, and it was like had a ripple effect on their SMGs. But even individually, Simp and Abizi weren't the players they usually are. So and still like given all the criticisms we've just leveled, for them to go second, third, second, it's just so it just goes to show that the level of dominance this team has had.
It was so Arcitys. I feel like it was confusing for me as a fan because I was like, okay, Celium pulls out the flex gun, but he plays way slower with an AR than Arcitys. So it's like, who's really the main AR? Like, it was really weird. Yeah.
So
there were times where I saw Arcitys play the MP40. Like, it was confusing.
Yeah, I mean, back in Modern Warfare and stuff, like Arcitys was good on the MP5. Like he would be, a good flex player for them on certain maps, Huntsman. So. Yeah, strange, but if there's any team that can figure it out, it's FaZe. And we know they're coming with the fire, right? Because we had the whole FaZe Drazah drama, which is honestly fantastic as far as I'm concerned. Like, effectively the way it worked was there's been some pent-up beef between Drazah and FaZe. Apparently it's not just that tweet from January where Simp said that he was trash ever since they nerfed snaking or something. Or basically Simp was saying that we destroyed you every time last year, despite the fact that snaking was nerfed, even though Drazah kept saying that FaZe are only good because they snake, I think was basically what Simp was trying to get at. So Drazah saves that one in the drafts, hits the quote tweet, says thanks for the ring. Simp comes back and says, wow, this is your first time in the Champs Grand Finals, like, clown, I've been here, done it before, try and see you next year in the Grand Finals, mate, good luck getting there type thing. And then there was a whole girlfriend drama, like, I don't want to get into that, so I don't care. But then, Beezy was doing a tweet, kind of like agreeing with Jet Ski tweeted about roasting his girlfriend, and Beezy was like, "Well, that's kind of funny." And then Drazah was like,
It was
"Wow,
messy,
Beezy,
bro.
what a weirdo!" And then people were
messy.
looking into the past tweets. People were digging up tweets of like 2018. I'm like, very. And then some other ego was like, "Damn, well, he was talking to my friend, and she was talking to him." I'm like, "Bro, what is going on?" So it devolved into chaos.
I try not to post drama. Like I kind of veered off posting about drama, but this one I was like, okay, I'll post it, and it ended up being like one of my popular tweets of the year. Like that's how much people. Yeah, that's how the people just soak up drama, bro. They love it, and I try not to tweet about it much because I don't know, I'm too old for that type of stuff, bro. Like it is fun. I do like it though. It is funny, but I'm not tweeting about it. But this time I didn't. It was like one of my biggest tweets. But I feel like it started overshadowing. Bro, if I'm playing a champs and I lose, I'm not opening up Twitter, bro. Even if I win, I'm not opening up Twitter. Like I'm tweeting a little bit, but I'm not going back and forth with someone after winning champs, bro. Like that's just me. And I feel like some of the players were like that too. Like Arcitys didn't really say much, but I don't know. After a match like that, I'm not opening up the Bluebird. I might send a little tweet and that's it, but I'm closing it and I'm drowning my sorrows or celebrating either of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, it's a weird one to me because it's like Drazah was kind of a sore winner, like he was winning, it was rubbing in their faces, which, yeah, fair enough, right? I don't really care. Like, that's kind of just, it is what it is. It's just player doing what he does. And he's earned his right to talk trash, don't get me wrong. And it felt like FaZe and like Simp and Abizi were pretty salty, in fairness, tweeting that in reply. So it was kind of on both ends. I thought like Drazah went a bit overboard, and the FaZe guys didn't really need to respond the way they did. But it creates a good storyline for next season, right? Even Arcitys came out and said that like they're fired up. He's kind of like, we've already effectively just planning their revenge tour next season. I think Arcitys said he's already started training, like getting ready for the battles to come. So, and I'm sure that's going to be spicy when they play next.
Simp is like trying to be enforcing this villain role on himself, which I feel like it doesn't fit him. But Drazah, I feel like that fits him, like the villain role. I feel like he's the real villain now. Because Simp's been trying to do like this villain thing for a while. I'm like, nah, like I don't think that's you, bro. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, you're not that type of, you just gun people. That's it. But Drazah is like, he shit talks and he's ready for it. So I think he's the real villain now in Call of Duty.
Yeah,
and people hate him now. Like,
I didn't actually.
The timeline hates him, bro.
I didn't actually think about that, but like you're so right, because like Thieves having won the event, they're now kind of the team to beat next year, effectively. So like instead of FaZe being the dominant team that people hate because they're FaZe, part of that will still carry over. But now it's like, okay, well, Thieves are on top and Drazah's talking trash. So like the FaZe fans and the OpTic fans and the fans of all the other teams will want to see Drazah knocked off his perch, which just creates a great storyline. And like, I agree, like people really seem to be hating Drazah lately, which like...
Yeah, bro. And his missus
like,
too, his girlfriend.
Yeah, and his
bro, they were on her ass. I was like, yo, chill. Like some of them were like crazy.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't really get it. I feel like Drazah, like, I don't know. He talks trash, but he's got a great story. He's a great player, and he won champs, and he's gonna do what he does. And honestly, all I'm saying is, if you guys hate him or like him, I don't care. I don't think he cares either. But it's great for the scene. I would much rather have people actually have opinions about players than not have any opinions. Like, there's some players in the league I don't have an opinion about because I just don't care what they have to say because they're just boring and they do nothing. Guys like Drazah come on the scene. Like, this is the thing, right? People always say, oh, when Clay, when Crim, when Scump retires, the scene's going to die. It's not going to die when we've got guys like Drazah, we've got guys like, Pred and Sib and these young guys who are coming up and winning championships, and they've got personalities, right? They're people are interested in what they have to say, and if Drazah talks trash or if he doesn't talk trash, people are going to care because he's actually an interesting personality that has some gravitas behind what he says because he's actually won something now. So that's just great for the scene in general because people have been begging for... People always cry about, when Scump retires, he's going to die. When Crim goes, he's going to die. But that's what COD's about, The new guys come through, and Drazah's a prime example of that. So I don't really get the hate, to be honest.
I think you said... Someone sent me a clip from your video, and I think you said something like, the fans want people to talk shit. Like, they love people... They love it when players talk shit, but when they do, they start hating on them. It's like, which one do you want? It's like, which one do you want, bro? Like, because people love drama, bro. Like, whenever I tweet
They're
about
all
drama,
over.
and even like your videos, like you probably
My
see them in the
video
videos.
popped
Like,
off on the Drazah one. I had like
right, exactly,
55K in a
exactly.
day.
People
Best
love that
video
shit.
of the year, I think, is that Drazah
Yeah,
video.
yeah. Like I'm like, fuck, I might start tweeting about drama again. Like Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I mean, I can't, I can't hate on it because it's doing the damage. Wait, Scudder says Bevils dropped him LAG. Can you confirm that on the timeline?
Jesus.
But
Hello.
yeah, that might be fake news. I haven't checked Twitter, but yeah, I don't know. That's my thought as well. Is that often people say, okay, we want the viewership, we want the drama, we want the storylines, and then when someone actually comes out and delivers that, they say that they don't want it. Well, maybe they say that they don't want it, but they just say they don't like the player who's done it. Whereas the reality is, they want to see this type of stuff deep down, and if you like the player or not, who cares? At least they've got an opinion. People who hate Drazah are still going to click on the video and are still going to watch when FaZe play Drazah next, even if he wins. So I just think it's good for the scene in general. Oh, it's real. People are confirming. Should we talk about this then? Seems like good timing to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I'm about
If
to tweet it out.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow. So we've got a live tweet coming through from Crone. Wow, interesting. This is actually very interesting because I think I saw people saying today on Twitter, do you want to bring this up, Omar? I can DM it to you real quick, or you can just find it I'm not actually watching the stream, so I don't know if it's already up on the stream, but I'm just going to send it to you anyway. On your main Twitter account. Because people were mentioning that LAG have done such a bad job at making roster moves that their entire management should be fired. I saw people talking about that today, and here we are a couple of hours later with Bevils going. Bevils was part of the Envy team back in the day, actually, as well, and I thought he did a decent job. But it must be said that LA Gorillas have not been looking so good, and their move for the Neptune stuff and benching of a seam and like, if you fail to make champs, I think it's about time that we start holding the management staff accountable.
Yeah, I mean,
So I
I've
kind
had
of like to see this progress.
Ricky and Bevils since Modern Warfare, right? There's been, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I've been
hard
there
to
for like
judge
3
coaches.
years.
Like we really don't know what coaches do in Call of Duty. We don't really see anything. We don't know what they say, so we don't know how good Bevils and Ricky are or aren't. But you definitely have to start looking at them, bro. Like 100%, you have to start looking at them. And I thought they would have gone because they were asked for like 2 years. So I was like, well, surely you get rid of one of your coaches because they obviously aren't doing much, especially when you have 2 of them. But that's interesting that Bevils has been let go. I think he'll probably get scooped up. Hopefully,
I think he will. I mean,
his run with Gorillas hasn't tainted his. He coached
Evil
Evil
Geniuses.
Geniuses. Yeah.
He was
I
like
mean,
the
he has a
S&D
resume.
mastermind back in World War II. Like, he was
Yeah.
coming up with all their smoke strats they pulled out at CWL Seattle and Champs that helped them win the
'Cause
event.
He played in World War II, right? I'm sure he
Yeah, he
played with
played.
like
He was on
Blast.
Era Eternity.
Yeah.
With Pharaoh and Decimate and something like that. So he
Yeah.
was like, that's when he really first made note. I don't know. I think he needs to cut his hair. Like, the old hairstyle, he was better when he had that trim. Like, that's when he was delivering results. That's all I'm saying. But I mean, look, but I agree with what people are saying in chat, right? Like, they literally won a miracle event with the Volk, and the Search and Destroy gods just blessed them, and they won all game 5s. Apart from that, their season's been terrible, right? Like, they are just absolutely whack. Like, yeah, I mean, genuinely
They were
horrible.
last at like all the events, bro. Like,
And even the roster changes they made is super questionable. Like, I still think Slash is good. I genuinely haven't been sold on Hook for quite a while now. And then, like, Asim is another one of those kind of like just mid players, in my opinion. That's like he's like a Kismet type player to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, he was good, but he's nothing crazy. Like, you've got to build star players around him. And then the whole Neptune move, and then like having Gunless and then dropping him again for Sparks. Like, to me, that might have been the final straw for Gorillas, because bringing Gunless back and then benching him almost immediately kind of screamed of like, well, it's not desperation precisely, but it's kind of like, well, this hasn't worked out. Let's try and magically recapture the glory days of stage 2. Despite the fact that maybe that lineup just needed a bit more time to get Gunless integrated again. Like, I don't know. And preventing Gunless, like, that might have been the decision where LAG management just said, well, look, that was just a bad call, and you're not coming back next year to make the same call again. Because they've got so much talent on that Gorillas team and on the bench. Like, it's actually kind of crazy that they've got Sparks, Gunless, Hook, Asim, Slasher, Neptune all sitting there, and none of them went to champs.
Crazy, bro. Like, they came last 4 out of 6 events that they played. One of them they won, the other one they were top 8. Like, you take Major 2 away, bro, and they had a disaster season. They probably would have had $10,000 earnings, which is crazy. They would have had less.
So insane.
They would have had less
It's in
than Paris,
bro.
probably.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And Rocker.
Yeah, that is tough. Yeah, agreed. I mean, look. So I guess Ricky for now is going to stay. It seems like. So, which I guess is okay. But I mean, yeah, people mention like Parasite, right? He mentioned the other day, and I think even Slack said or something, like some of these guys said that they would want to get picked up, and I think that Parasite as like an analyst could give a lot of. I'd love to see him as like a secondary analyst type guy in an organization, and Guerrillas could be an organization that could do that, right? And so but yeah, I guess
I would pick up Parasite, bro. Like, I rate him.
Yeah.
I rate him a lot. Like, people, they don't look at him because he's quote unquote toxic, but I think he's a really smart player.
Yeah, if he's
really
not the head coach, the toxicity doesn't matter because he's just given his insight, and the coach can deliver the insight. If
he's like analyst or like, I think he would be perfect in that role.
Yeah, agreed. So that might be an option for Guerrillas. We'll see about that one, I suppose. But yeah, I guess this is kind of one of the first times that we've seen management staff. I mean, I guess Bevils isn't really management, he's kind of the analyst, but like he's definitely had a role to play with Ricky over the last 3 years in determining their team. It's probably like the first time we've seen 100%. Like someone in that role get cut because of bad performances from the team. And like,
I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier, bro. Like,
I was going to say, will there be more to come here, right? Because a lot of people have mentioned like Ogre 2 on Florida, right? And said, Ogre 2's got to go, all he does is get ARs. Which might be true, but other people are saying that there's more going on in that camp than we know about. So maybe this probably isn't the last of it, to be honest.
Oh, no.
Ricky Achura, actually, yeah, good point. But Ricky Achura, I swear he didn't get... I don't know why they dropped Achura, because like, I don't think they dropped Achura because the team didn't get results. Like he was a coach.
Yeah, I don't know.
He didn't build a team.
So but he was in challenges. He was in challenges this year because he thought that the challenger team he was with was going to buy the Paris Legion spot. So that's why he stayed in challenges, because he thought he was going to be in the CDL next year. But then the who was it? The French streamer. The bots. Their French streamer, he was going to buy it. Oh, no. Bookmark that for later.
Nubsy never again. Yeah, Gataga, I guess.
Yeah, Gataga, yeah. So, Atoro was meant to be a coach for the CDL team next year, but it didn't happen. So, he wasted his entire year in challenges.
Top scenes. Yeah, well, you know, we'll see. We'll see how things go there, but kind of exciting news out of nowhere. For this evening. 2 things I want to mention before we finish up the show here. First of all is the OpTic curse, because it's happened again that a player that they drop or trade or release, however you want to say it, goes on to win champs the very next year. It happened with Clayster back in Ghosts, got rid of him, goes to Envy or whatever, goes to Denial, they win champs. That's a long time ago. Crim 6, though, they drop him after Black Ops 4. He goes on to win champs next year on Empire. Arcitys, they release him. Of course, he wants to go to FaZe. They release him, goes to FaZe. And of course, that was Huntsman then, but same story really with the OpTic camp. He goes there. And then, most recently, Envoy. It's happened again. He gets dropped. And then he wins champs. Now, I don't think any of these moves were necessarily bad moves. Like, Envoy releasing him, I think makes a lot of sense, right? Like Shotzi was there. You're not going to keep Envoy over Shotzi. It is what it is. But at the same time, like, Envoy was getting a lot of flack last year for his playstyle, and put into a different, arguably better system this year, with maybe more consistent players around him, he's delivered a world championship result, and I think MVP of certainly the finals. Like, I mean, maybe he wasn't weekend MVP, they gave that to Kenny, but I would say in terms of finals MVP, I'd 100% have given it to Envoy. So, like, that's awesome for Envoy as an individual, because, like, you know, last year the process comes out, like, he was tearing up, like, after a difficult season, and wins champs the next year. Like, that's so good for him. But I do wonder, like, you know, is it just a coincidence, or is there actually something to this, that OpTic just have great players that literally win champs the next year, but don't get the most out of them.
I mean, it's just a coincidence, bro. Let's be honest here. But so if they don't make a roster move, does that mean they win champs next year? Or
they have to drop their whole team and re-sign them.
Or if they drop ProLoot and ProLoot goes to a team, is he winning champs?
Oh my god! Wow, that's a good point. I guess it doesn't always happen. But then again, Formal, right? I mean, Formal's gone to Halo now. He's frying. He might win Halo.
Yeah, he just won over the weekend. When is Halo champs? I'll probably watch that.
Who knows, bro? Like, I don't even know. Like 6 months time or so. They've probably got 2022 champs like halfway through 2024. Like how the Halo season is
exactly
outlined right now. But I mean, yeah, like I'm kind of inclined to agree with you. But people were saying that they need to drop Scump and then pick him back up, and then Scump will win champs because of the OpTic curse.
I mean, OpTic is always going to have elite players, so it's like their players are always going to be elite, and when they get dropped, those players are always going to go to elite teams. Like it's just how OpTic is; they always have elite players. So
yeah,
I think it's just a coincidence.
I just think they're like maybe this is a hot take, but I think within the organization internally, winning is less of a priority than it is at a team like 100 Thieves. And I think that's just the way it is. Like nadeshot instills from the top down, like this organization is about winning all the teams. That's the goal from top to bottom. Whereas OpTic, I don't think they want to win, but I don't think that from the top down, from hex down, that's the 100% aim and goal like it is for nadeshot. So I think that kind of naturally as a result of that, in terms of the culture behind the team, 100 Thieves and LA Thieves are going to form a team and a culture that's more likely to deliver results on a more consistent basis. And I think that just comes from the way the team is set up and structured. Like they don't really have a GM over at OpTic. It's kind of just like Hex just talks to the players and stuff. Like it's very like 2015. It's very like pre-CDL in a way. And their team is good enough to win results and win games and win tournaments, but I don't think that on a consistent basis that is as much of a priority. So that's a hot take really, but nadeshot, like he knew what he wanted to build with, and maybe he knew what he felt was wrong with OpTic back in the day. I don't know. It's the way he wins or the way he tries to form his brand has made it very clear. When people say 100T or a hoodie brand, he's come out and slammed that and said, no, we're here to win, and that's the be all and the end all.
Yeah. I mean, he's made some crazy roster moves for his other teams, like dropped some pretty good people there. I don't follow them, but I've seen them blow up on the timeline. But he demands the winning, like that. He wants to win. I feel like he's probably a little bit like, oh guys, it's okay, you lost. Like we'll go again next major.
Yeah, so there you go. Crim just summed up in one sentence. That's not nadeshot's attitude.
Yeah.
Nadeshot, if the team loses, nadeshot's pissed. Whereas maybe Hex is like, well, like, we go again. And even, Brusker says LAT haven't been good besides this year, which is true. I mean, they were bad last year, but they've only been in the league one the year before this year. And in their first season,
8 roster changes.
They won 2 events, and they made the Champs Grand Finals in Black Ops 4. So 2 out of the 3 years that Thieves have been in COD, they've achieved a lot. I mean, they've been in 2 of the Grand Finals in the last 3 years that they've been an organization. So I think that's commitment to winning as far as I'm concerned. And Scump's been in 1 Grand Finals in the 10 years of his career. So, not to race him too much, but I just think that that's a crazy stat. You think about his legacy and why that might be. Not roasting Scump, but I just think that, the team never seems to quite deliver for whatever reason. So, yeah, some hot takes came out of nowhere to close out the show. Final thing I wanted to mention, Crane, who do you think are the biggest players in this Rostermania? Because I've written a few players down that I think could have some impact. There's not like an unbelievable amount of free agents, but there are quite a lot. We've got some SMGs, we've got the Florida guys, we've got Clay, we've got Attach, and one of those, let's say Hydra goes to Seattle or Toronto or something, right? And Mac or Bance or CleanX is a free agent, or maybe Cammy's a free agent, then that has its domino effect.
I would probably say Hydra, right? Hydra and Afro are probably the biggest. I haven't even seen that. I know Ben has a list of players that are most likely free agents. I haven't really looked at it, to be honest, but I think from the ones that we know, I would probably say Hydra and Afro are the biggest. I thought Afro was unrestricted. When did he sign it in Cold War? It's so weird.
Yeah, I think he's unrestricted.
Yeah, probably
they
those
would have
two.
signed him and then extended him.
But
Yeah,
I mean, just
Carol
because people aren't
mentions,
free agents doesn't mean they're going to stay, you know?
yeah, exactly. Very good trying. There could be other players that end up leaving. I mean, yeah, Carol mentioned like Shotzi and Illy technically being free agents. He reckons that's like true and confirmed. Obviously, they're going to re-sign, but like, I don't know, because the only way that they would ever leave is if like FaZe said, "Hey, Shotzi, come to FaZe." But even then, he
Yeah.
probably wouldn't leave, right?
Nah, I don't think either of them would leave. I don't think OpTic make a roster move, to be honest. Unless
Agreed.
Scump leaves, obviously.
Yeah, that's the only way anything happens. But I think they go for at least one more year. This is actually what I want to see, just as a final point, and I'll ask your perspective on this, Chrome, before we close out the show. Is that because I was thinking about this today, right? The fact that OpTic usually start really strong and then they fade away towards the end of the season. I wonder, like, how much of that will carry over into the second year of Modern Warfare 2, right? So let's say we have Modern Warfare 2 comes out this year, and it's a very traditional OpTic season like we've had, but it's a normal season. There's no illy issues, and let's say they win like the second event, first event, whatever. Then they get top 3, top 6, and then they rebound to like top 4, top 3 at champs or something, right? Very traditional OpTic season, which you wouldn't put it past them to do. What happens going into the next year of the game? Like, do they all of a sudden start off great again, or because Ben J. Nassim was saying that OpTic are a team that lacks innovation, right? As time progresses and the teams figure out the best ways to play, OpTic are never quite there. So, like, into a second year of the same game, they should still be behind the field. So I just wonder how that plays out, right? Like, and whether that's something they need to think about.
I don't know. It's going to be so. We don't know enough about what's going to happen on the second year of Modern Warfare 2. Like,
Black Ops 3 Remastered, I'm hearing.
are we gonna I'm assuming we're playing the same game, but is it, are they gonna bring out some new content, like, bring out a new map pool, or like we don't really know how it's gonna work, so it's hard to judge. Is it gonna be the exact same game we played on the first year, or are they gonna change it up, change some things, patch some things? Like, I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. I think there's too much unanswered questions in that type of thing. So I don't know to answer your question.
I agree. I also don't know, but it's a big question. Maybe what they do is they do 1 year and then they completely change the spawn system for year 2. That'd be good fun, and just make it so much worse. That'd be good fun.
Activision will have something up their sleeve for year 2. Like, I highly doubt they're going to be like, just the same game. There'll be something there. I don't know what it is. Whether it's a remaster of like something else. Yeah. Like, they know how to make money, and they're not gonna not release something new, whether or not it's the same game or it's a remaster or it's something like Warzone or whatever. But Warzone will have something up this sleeve 100%. I highly doubt that we're just playing the exact same game for 2 years straight.
Could be interesting if they change up the modes as well, right? Like mentioning like, what if they did Control year 1 and then like CTF year 2 or something? That could be interesting.
Yeah, something like that. Because I mean, you look at any game that we've ever played every year, like 9 months down the line, it's like it starts dying, right? Like, you can barely find ranked matches, and especially maybe in North America it's right, but in APAC, bro, I can't even find. You struggle to find games at this time of the year, so they're gonna have to do something to like bring people back. Like, hey, look, if you keep playing, you can get this or whatever. Maybe a remaster. Like, I hope it's a remaster, to be honest. Like, I would love for like, BO3 remaster or BO2 or one of the Modern Warfares or whatever.
That'd be Dreamland, but
yeah.
I mean, like, you're right. It's like the Vince McMahon meme, that's Activision whenever they know that it's November and they can, when he's just smelling the money and like he's, all this type of stuff. Like, that's what it's all about. That's what they know happens every November. So there's no way they're just going to let a year go past with not collecting that juicy Call of Duty cash. Like, they've got to have some ideas.
That's smart. They know what they're doing, bro.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. Maybe Microsoft will have different ideas when that happens, but for now, I still think that we'll have something to think about in terms of 2 years of the same game. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for everyone who tuned in, not just live on Twitch and YouTube, after the fact as well, of course, and also on the podcast platforms. The last few episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts have been like our best ever. We're hitting new levels on those platforms, so we really appreciate it. It's definitely being helped by you guys leaving all the 5-star reviews and that type of stuff, so that really helps us grow. Same with all you guys watching currently on YouTube. Smash the like button, baby. The algorithm loves it. It sees, wow, it's a like. That must mean more people are going to like this. Chuck it in that recommended, baby. That's what YouTube's good for. So yeah, thanks for joining. That was, I guess, the season of shows is kind of done. I mean, we're what, episode 77 now. Like, I know you've only been joining us for the last few, Crone, but it's been a pleasure having you on board. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to come in this off season because Rostermania is going to start to be a big topic in what, a week or so. What's the timeline for the free agency stuff?
I think people are free agents on Sunday or Monday, one of those two. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing teams like, we're letting go of these players over the next few days. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. And those aren't usually things that I leak. I'm more into like doing like the final roster. I'm not into like this team's going to be letting go of this guy. So those will be like fun surprises for the community over the next. I assume we'll probably get some before Sunday, and then after Sunday, there might be announcements. I don't know if they have to wait until after Sunday or what, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And then a week after that, I think the Sunday after is when teams are allowed to start signing. I think. Don't quote me there.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. But yeah, that makes sense. And when things start to become a bit clearer, no Cloud Elite, you're right. I mean, it's interesting because last year, obviously, you dropped that crazy article, Chrome, when you did leak like every team on one day. Yeah. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah. I wanted to wait till the last. Yeah, so my plan last year was to wait till the last day because I was like, well, things change. It's like, I don't want to do it too early. And it was the other people were leaking it, and I was like, I'm just going to stick to my guns and just wait till the last day. And then the last day, I released, 8 teams maybe. At the time, they had teams. Obviously, Paris Legion wasn't one of them. Boston wasn't one of them. But yeah, I did it all in one day. So I don't know what I'm going to do this year. I don't know if I'm just going to do it as they come in and hope that they stick so I don't miss. But I don't know. We'll see what happens, bro. I haven't really got a plan. I just kind of wing everything in my life.
Oh, good, yeah. And we'll have to figure something out because, like, I know we've talked about the possibility of like doing a show, but then
we could do that.
Crone can come on and like maybe not drop like a not leak every roster, but we can do a Crone Bomb live.
Well, we could go live, and then I could just tweet out the articles or whatever.
Yeah, go live, and then you talk about it, and then you tweet the article, and everyone tunes in, and then we can talk about it for like 30 minutes or something. Like we can do some live Crone Bombs. Like, if you've got an article ready and it's going to go up at a certain time, we can just send a show live. Like, that might be interesting.
Yeah, we could. We'll see. We'll just wing it, bro. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea.
You're doing his eyes. Yeah, well, it's early days. We're 2 days out from champs, but it's been a good season. So yeah, thanks for all your good feedback on that in the chat. Appreciate it. It's Crone from Vancouver. Not quite.
No, I'm a fan of Jar though. I'm from New Zealand.
A little bit on the other side of the world, but that's all good. Appreciate the kind words, everyone. And Crone, have a fantastic day. Thanks, Omar, for producing behind the scenes. We'll be back next week with Lightman should be here, and Austin will certainly be here, we think, so we can just pick his brain a little bit on how he thought the season went and what teams might do going into Rostermania, because by this time next week, we're going to have way more juicy stuff to talk about, as I'm sure it's going to fly in from around the world. But yes, thanks for watching as always. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.